Welcome to Beyond a Thought, and welcome to the second interview in the interview series. If you enjoy this, then please subscribe to keep this content coming. I'll also be cutting this interview into shorter episodes so that it will be easier for you to consume and enjoy. Cassandra Barrie, or Cassie as I've always known her, is in her words a mindset and empowerment badass. Her mission is to empower women to step into their badassery. After her life change trajectory, she soon realized that our time here is a precious gift, and it can be taken at any moment. She is a highly passionate and driven person who has spent most of her life working as a hairdresser and owning several businesses in the fashion, beauty, and hair industry, working with women and helping them look and feel good on the outside. She says she's a natural born nurturer and healer, but just didn't realize her true power, her badassery. That was until, in the blink of an eye, she became a widow and a single mother to a boy whose father, as she tells her now 5-year-old, lives with the moon and the stars. I wanted to sit down and talk to her about the journey she's gone through, how she managed to get out of her face down moment, how she now inspires other women to be badasses, and now makes them feel good on the inside, how she came to realize that life has a much bigger purpose than many of us know. Although many of us believe we live happy lives, there is a way more epic, more badass life available to us. I'm now hitting record.
I know.
It's not my morning. Okay. All right. I feel terrible. Okay. Okay. So let's get started. Cassie, please tell me, what is it to be a badass and how can you become a badass?
How can you become a badass? So for me, where I came up with, I guess, essentially the Be a Badass branding and the business, like a lot of people used to look at people like, a badass as like, your tattooed biker, leather jacket kind of fighting kind of people. And I'm just like, it's just not for me. Like always use the term like, oh, that's fully sick. Like, oh, that's really cool. Like that's just those kind of terms. And I was like, you know what? No way. That's badass. So for me, when I say badass, it's like, actually like, that's really cool. Like that's really exciting. It's not the negative condemnation that goes with the word badass. I've actually got like, I'm literally, welcome to my bedroom. My office is actually under construction, so yeah, this is what we've got to work with. But on my mirror in my room, I've got what's, how like you have a word and then each letter equals another word, whatever that thing is. It's not an acronym, I don't know. Anyways, so I've got the word badass, and then B is for bold, A is for authentic, D is for daring, A is for aware, S is for sassy, and S is for strong. So for me, the term badass is just someone who fully embodies their inner power. They live to the fucking fullest. They're aware of what's going on around them. They're aware and accepting of their own mistakes. They're authentic, obviously. And then they just have a really nice, strong confidence to them. And that's where the term and, I guess the empowerment side of the word badass sits for me.
Wow. So I guess, would you say it's an internal way of thinking or living or looking at? Yeah, cool. Nice. I guess it's a thing of like, it doesn't really matter what you look like, or how you dress or style. It's like, it's all about how you live. Or yeah, cool. And
it's living, and that's what I mean. It's living with it's living just with, a conscious awareness that you can do whatever the fuck you actually want. You've just actually got to make it happen. For me, if you're a badass, you're someone who just fucking takes action, who goes for what they want. I guess I don't love the word success. Because like success can be determined so differently and it's different for everyone, and very much the same with the word badass. Like the word badass can mean so many different things to people, but for me, if you're a badass and I put you in that category, you are a successful person in my eyes. with whatever realm that you're in or industry that you're in and things like that. So I guess, yeah, for some people it's like, oh, well, they're a really powerful person, or they're an A-lister, or they're, you know, a highly successful person kind of thing. Whereas me, I'm just like, they're a fucking badass.
It's not about financial gains or celebrity status or etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
You just had one of your retreats recently, last weekend, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So Badass Evolution. So it was the second retreat for the year. I was planning on having 4, but obviously, you know, the universe had other plans.
And the universe was for us to make no plans. Yeah.
Exactly. Unfortunately, but yeah, I have the joys of living in Queensland, so I still got to have somewhat of a life. So yeah, the Badass Evolution retreat, we just came off of that last weekend. I had 4 women join me there. And it was really cool because they're sort of all from different avenues. Like, some had businesses, some are just starting out in business, some just, you know, are happy working the 9 to 5. But they all had something that they really wanted to work through. And what we did at this particular retreat is the theme was surrender. And they just had to sort of just surrender and let go. Obviously, this year's been really heavy. So we did a lot of focus on, you know, literally like burning shit and getting rid of stuff that no longer served us.
Nice. Yeah. And so that's probably what brought them to you was, how can I say this? Do you think it's a thing of before you can go on sort of an emotional journey or a journey of financial or career or whatnot, you need to let go of what's holding you back? Okay. Yeah.
Definitely. Like you can't step forward if something is literally tying you to the past. Or it's just like, you know, you don't go on and read the next chapter of a book if you haven't finished the last chapter.
Nice.
So it's releasing what's holding you back, because then once you can let go of it, it actually creates more space. There's more space. It also just, for me, it really just makes that statement to the universe that I'm done with that shit. Thank you very much. I've learnt the lessons. I'm ready to move forward. Now give me the next gift.
Yeah. That's quite interesting that we got there, because that brings me to the next question, you know, which is that big unavoidable question, which is, you know, that huge in the arena face down moment that you had in your life. That you had to fight through. You know, can you tell me about that moment, losing your partner, you know, and how you managed to get through that? You know?
Yeah. So, and that's essentially how we're connected as well, which is really cool. Well, we all went to school together, and you were, you know, really great mates with my husband, Glenn. So back in 2015, we actually had got married. So we got married in February 2015. And then I got pregnant, so we're having our little family, you know, we're kind of doing all the things, like you're ticking all the society boxes, and marriage, kids, all that kind of stuff. We both were actually at really pivotal points in our career as well. Like I had owned salons, and I was really in a really cool spot. I had a couple of different retail stores, and business was kind of really good. And Glenn was actually a musician, and was off recording overseas with his band, which was really cool. So a lot of people used to call us a power couple. And I'm like, yeah, we were fucking rock stars. Like we really were. And then, then it's actually, it's interesting that we're doing this, this video now as well. Just timing of it all, but I was 30 weeks pregnant with our son, Franklin, and Glenn was in Thailand, and he'd been there for 2 weeks, and it was actually just a couple of days before he was due to come home. I got a phone call from the singer of the band, and he was ringing to let me know that Glenn never woke up. He went to sleep and just never woke up the next day. So he was 26, and yeah, his time was up. So it was pretty fucking crazy, you know, being pregnant, not even being anywhere near him. And I'd actually, probably the past month before he passed, we hadn't really actually seen each other because I was in America for about 2 weeks, and then I came home, and then he left for Thailand.
You saw him before he left?
Yeah, like for a couple of days, for like a few days, and then he took off. And then, yeah, he never came home again. Pretty much they just said, you know, heart circulation and respiratory failure. And I'm just like, yeah, no shit. His heart stopped and he stopped breathing. He's dead. Like, but that's kind of all we got. And, but for me, I went down like a super spiritual path with all of that, and I'm very grateful that I actually was able to connect with one of Glenn's best friend's mums, Cam's mum.
Yeah.
She is like a medium, kind of whatever. She doesn't call it that, but she's that. And she connected with me like 2 days after he passed. She rang and just said, look, is it okay if I give you this message? And I'm like, fuck yeah. And basically for me, he shared with her that he had been trying to fight and come back into his body. And then he had a moment where essentially he fell into his true self. So he got his soul connection back and realized that that was his time. His time was up. He couldn't stay. Wow. So yeah, so for me, that really reiterated and really put me on a bit of a journey to discovering like the whole purpose and finding out a little bit more, or creating my belief around like our souls and you know what they're here to do and how it all works. So for me, it was just one of those things, because you always hear when someone passes that people are just like, oh, it was just their time. And you're like, what does that fucking mean? Yeah. But for me, now I've got a belief around soul contracts, and I did a little bit of research around that. That helped me get to the place of acceptance a lot quicker, because I moved into, you know, my spiritual belief and was like, okay, cool, his time was up. This was his contract. It was written when he was born. This was his time, and this was all he was meant to do. So that definitely helped. But then, yeah, now being a mum and, you know, going through birth and having a child and all of that kind of stuff, there's definitely times that spiritual stuff doesn't kick in, and I am still fucking human, and I'm just like, fuck this. Why did it have to happen? Fuck the universe. Yeah. Like, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, for me, I just really tapped into my own beliefs. Yeah. And researched and trusted, had a bit of faith in the universe, and yeah, it's it'll actually be 5 years in a couple of days. Yeah. Wow. I know, how crazy.
Oh, just crazy how fast it's going, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And do you think that was a thing of like finding that, like, it's what you just said is, it seemed like you had to find the path, or you had to like go through all this research to really find an answer that would help you, and help you move on. Yep. And do you think is that something you tell other people, that it's like, you know, you have to get curious about these emotions and, you know, find whatever you need to get you through it and accept it?
I think especially in our situation, because we didn't have an answer. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody passes from cancer, people are like, oh, they had cancer. If somebody dies in a car accident, it's like, oh, they died because of a car accident. Like, we had no reason. Like, we had no thing to blame it on, in a way. It was just like, he just went to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, so for me, I needed something. I needed to really understand why, because it just, you know, like it didn't make sense either, because then there's the part of me that's like, I'm fucking pregnant, I'm about to bring this kid into this world, like why would, you know, universe, God, source, whatever you want to call it, why would God take away this kid's dad? Like, you know, all of those kind of things. Like there was no thing I could blame it on, so I had to find and understand why.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's kind of what really pushed me. And like, to be honest, if I wasn't pregnant, it would be a whole different fucking story.
100%. And that's sort of what we were talking about like a couple of days ago, a couple of weeks ago. That sort of like, you know, you just had all this like weight sort of like on top of you. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not just that you know, you lost your best friend, you lost your soulmate. It's the fact that like you had no answer for it. You're pregnant with your first child, which is, you know, his child. And it's like, it was just like so much. It was just so much that had brought you down to here, and you have to figure out how to get back to this point, you know? And
yeah,
it's amazing because, you know, like some people would be like, oh, you know, you got through and you're at such a better place now. But it's like, I feel like you're always going to get to this place you're at right now. It's just that you had to fight through that, you know, face down moment and figure out how to get back to where you were and get back on your path. And yeah, I guess that's the sort of like the answers I'm trying to see. It's like how you found being a badass. Is it you found I'm trying to get to this answer. You had to find what connected with you and what helped you get through that moment and really move on. Was it acceptance?
Yeah, that was huge. I think I definitely came to a space of acceptance a lot earlier in the grief process than a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But I think for me as well, like, I've always been an achiever. Like, I've always been I want something, I'm going to fucking get it. So for me, I was like, I don't want to fucking be miserable. I don't want to live this life continually laying in bed and fucking crying. You know, I want to be excited that I'm having a baby. I want to keep striving and creating and having my businesses and these goals and these crazy things that I want to do. And the thing was, for me, I was like, I wasn't going to fucking achieve those crying in bed all the time. Like, I wasn't going to achieve those continually living in the past, trying to change what I cannot change. So getting to that space of going, it's happened, it sucks, it hurts, and I can't change it. Releasing the control, or the trying to control the control. Like, it's surrendering. That's
you know, you practice what you preach, you know what I mean? So it's like surrendering to it and letting it go. So yeah, and that's something I've sort of discovered about you as well, like over time, because you're such this force of power that not only do you say that, like, you know, I always get what I want, and like, you know, it feels like with you know you're going to get what you want, or you know you're going to get through this. And I think that's the difference, is that the knowing rather than like, it's not I can, it's like, no, I will, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And that's exactly it. It's the reframing, it's the using the different words, it's just having fucking belief, man. Like, you know, there's so many ways that you can sort of look at things, and you know, you can go down these roads of these big conspiracy theories, and like, you know, the world is fucking a phenomenal place. Humans are for a phenomenal place. Like, why are we here? Are there other, like, all of that kind of, like, we don't have long enough to go down that road. But it's just like, just having belief that we are here for a fucking reason and for a fucking purpose. And that purpose isn't to live boring lives. Like,
so but basically, Cameron's mum, so I've known Cameron's mum since I was in grade 1. What's her name again? It's really embarrassing. Marina, yeah. She helped you find your life purpose.
Like, I think she really reawakened my spiritual connection.
COVID.
I know, right? Rona. So I've always been like sort of connected, and I've always loved my crystals and the woo woo, and I've always kind of known there was something more and all of that kind of stuff, but I'd never really super tapped into it. And so when I caught up with Marina and she went into this massive reading, this massive detail, I was like, okay, awesome. But even on the night that I found out Glenn had passed, I climbed into bed and I just started talking to him. Like, I just started to have a conversation as if he was there, and I was getting answers.
Yeah.
I felt calm. Oh, I'm going to cry. But I actually, like, and it sounds so fucking hectic because I was, a pregnant woman. Pregnant women are crazy generally. But the whole process of finding out that he had passed and then having to call everyone and all of that, like, I was just calm, like, in the weirdest kind of way. But and that's where I really feel that, like, he had me and he was holding me, and I had that strength and the support from him and from, my angels and guides and all of the other universal stuff that comes at you. I wasn't alone in that process. In the heaviest and the darkest moments, I really felt like I had a lot more light around me.
It makes perfect sense, and like, it doesn't matter what sort of spiritual belief you have, but like, when you've been with someone for long enough, how long were you with Glenn?
We had been together, I think it was about 6 years.
6 years. You're living with him, you travel with him, you did everything with him. You know what his responses are. It's like any partner who's been with someone so long, they already know the answer their partner's going to give them to almost any question. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like a fight. Like, oh, I know what they're going to say. You know what I mean? So yeah, totally. Like, the fact that, like, you were able to, talk to him where you could ask him these questions and you already know what his responses were going to be. So
yeah, oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. There's still times when I do things now and I'm just like, oh, I'm getting in trouble.
Yeah, see, what would Glenn say if I do this? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Glenn would say don't fucking do it, but he would also know that I would do it anyway.
Yeah. Either way, you're getting what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Yeah. And that's where it's like, for me now as well, like, it's been a really hard process. Obviously just becoming a fucking parent, but then coming to terms with the fact that I'm a single parent. So it's been quite an interesting process, like, just dealing with that. And becoming a mother, like, is just hectic, but then becoming a parent is just intense as well. So it's just so many other things that sort of come in, and there are those moments where it hits me so hard. Like, this week, Franklin's actually been at home all week sick. And it's those moments that I'm just like, oh, those moments are when I start to feel alone.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want somebody else to fucking deal with Franklin. Or I want somebody else to, hold me while I'm holding our son because he's sick. And it's those kind of moments that it actually sometimes hits harder than what it did 5 years ago.
Yeah, that sort of physical connection to let you know it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
That's really funny because it brings me on to, that's not funny, but it brings me on to my next question, which is, what's your advice for single parents out there? Most importantly, those chasing a dream business or career.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
And I say this all the time, ask for help. Don't be fucking stubborn. Admit when you need help and fucking ask for it. And I come across this a lot because I actually have done a little bit of coaching in the business realm. And they're like, oh, there's no one that can help me. And I'm just like, fuck off. If you get over your shit and you actually like reach out, you might not physically have somebody that is near you that you call family that will help you. But if you put a post out on Facebook, or you reach out to, you know, like for us in the hair industry, we've got a lot of community groups, like every industry, obviously. But I'm like, if somebody just reached out and said, I need some help, there is someone somewhere who will fucking help you. There's also like websites, and you can find nannies. You can find all of the things that you need. You just have to ask for it. And then you have to get over the fact that someone is willing to give to you. That's the biggest thing. Like humans find it really hard to receive. Really hard to receive. They'll give and give and give and give. But then when somebody actually wants to give back, people, like, that's one thing that people struggle with, or that I find people struggle with a lot. You know, from something as simple as receiving a compliment to then actually receiving help. And the way that I've refound that, because I was very much like that
You think
in some ways. I was like, you will fucking help me. I was a bit more demanding on my help back in the day. But I was also like, no, I can do it on my own. You know, like, I don't need anyone's help. I know what I'm doing. And I got nowhere.
Well, yeah, I think you just reached the point there, which I was going to say, do you think that's you feel like you need to prove something, or you feel like you need to prove that you're not a broken mess, or you can do it on your own? You don't. Yeah.
And like, even for me as a kid, but like I was a fucking firecracker. Like, I would snap at the smallest of things. But so then I actually became the butt of everyone's jokes, because I was this tiny little blonde chick who would just fucking fly off her rocker. So people would like poke me until I exploded, because it was fun to watch me explode. So then for me, that actually became a crutch, because it was how I then got attention. So I liked being the center. I fucking still love being the center of attention. Well, not being the center, but I love attention. I'm a performer, like, literally, you know, I was a dancer and a drama, all that kind of stuff. So I do love that. But then I started to fall into the space of using people's attention in a not so great way. So I then was like, hang on, this doesn't feel good when people are giving me attention. So then I'd sort of start to go the opposite and just go, fuck it, I don't want anyone's attention. I'll do it all myself.
So that sort of, the attention was directed at you rather than with you. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I guess that's the point, isn't it? It's like, I mean, I'm just speaking out. Like, I wonder if it's a thing of people wondering if they're going to get judged, or for reaching out and saying like, oh, I can't do this, and then they're worried about judgment, or they have shame and guilt. So letting go of that judgment. Shame. Yeah. Okay. Great. And what made you really throw yourself out there? You spoke about, you know, always being strong and, you know, whatnot, but like, throwing yourself out there, being vulnerable, you know, constantly showing up and not being afraid to show everyone who you are.
I think for me, I started to realize, like, I was kind of always out there and always like in people's faces, and definitely, you know, for almost 20 years of being a hairdresser, you're just surrounded by people, and people kind of come to you for advice, and they talk and they unload everything on you. And you know, I had a really, really insanely established business and brand and events and things like that. So I was quite out there in the public eye, but I was out there. I literally had a persona. At the peak of my hairdressing career and my businesses, it was right when, you know, the pin-up scene was really big and things like that. So I literally had this persona, and she was called Miss Diamond. So I came out and I was Miss Diamond. But Miss Diamond was that pin-up that was the winged eyeliner and the red lips and the rolled hair and the little outfits. Like, there was a lot that became that person. And she was perfect in many ways, you know, I guess. we could go down the rabbit hole of back to the 50s when that's what you did. You were the housewife and that's how you looked. But then I started to sort of realize that I'm like, that was a lot of work. It was a lot of effort. Like, I loved it and I embodied it and I felt confident and sexy and all of these great things. But then I was just like, it still wasn't me. Like, I was like, it was too perfect. It was too prim and proper in some ways until I opened my mouth. And I was like, no. And then I started to just kind of share a little bit more of my vulnerability, or share a little bit of those days of I can't be fucked to put the red lips on today. I'm going to stay in my pajamas. And people started to resonate with that. And they started to be like, oh, well, yeah, I'm doing that too. Oh, yeah, I fucking feel that. So it was just that barrier or that veil had sort of come down. And I was like, oh, people love that, but they actually also love this version. And it was just a sort of confidence that actually grew, being confident in the mess. And then sharing that, and then realizing there were so many more people out there that were exactly the same.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I guess that's sort of like going with they can connect to that or relate to that. Yeah. And talking about
humanness.
Totally. And like you're talking about like feeling strong altogether, like on the outside. You know, it's like when I went through the fast down moment, like I joined the gym and I started eating heaps and put on all this muscle and mass. I'm like, yeah, I look good. But like on the inside, it's completely different, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it's like you need to then sort of show the inside, show everyone what's in here. And that's where you need to be strong. So,
yeah. And that's the honest, you know what I mean? Like, that's the honest truth. It's the like a lot of people, you know, would have heard of or referred to, you know, wearing your masks. We all have masks, and there's all times that we do need to wear masks. You know, if it's not to just protect ourselves, but or if it's to, you know, protect others, or just, you know, for safety. It's okay to have those masks, but you can't wear them all the time.
Or your armor, as I've also heard, like taking off the armor. Yeah,
definitely.
And are there times where you still feel shame or guilt or whatnot, and like how do you deal with getting through that?
I did read this question when you sent it through, and I was like, I really can't think of a moment in my life where I've actually felt shame. I've definitely had like regret and guilt and things like that, but I feel the word shame just sits at a different level for me, and I've never really felt shame. Perhaps maybe, you know, in my early 20s when I was drinking and doing a lot of drugs, but I don't remember those times, so it's all good.
Never happened. I mean, but I mean that's it. Oh no, go on, you go.
There's definitely moments there that, there's definitely guilt and regret. And I do, again, fall into that trap and into that head talk of like, why the fuck did you do that? You shouldn't have done that. Getting all judgy on myself. But then, again, I kind of coach myself out of it and go, it's done. Because generally, if you regret something or you feel guilty about something, it's because it's already happened. So don't live in the fucking past. It's gone. You cannot change it. All you can do now is respond and take action moving forward.
So it's basically being present.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in like, is it in the presence how you feel about something? Is that what's most important? Like right now, how do I feel about where I am right now, or what this is right now? Is that what
you have to acknowledge it? You have to acknowledge where you are right now. You can't just go, oh, I don't feel guilty about that anymore and it's fucking done. Like, you have to sit in the mess. And you have to feel in order to heal. So if you're feeling guilty or you're regretting something, you do have to look back at it. You do have to process it. You do have to allow yourself to feel those moments of guilt and regret and whatever. But you have the choice of how long you stay in that moment. So you can have an awareness around it, but then you need to turn that awareness into action.
Wow. That's really powerful. I was reading somewhere, or I was watching a video, and like this woman writes in her journal, from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock today, I'm going to look at this emotional mess I'm in right now. So if something's happened to her at work or university or something, she's like, I'm feeling all this emotion. Wait, I'm not going to deal with this right now. At 4 o'clock, I'm going to deal with all that emotion. And then when 4 o'clock comes, so, okay. Then she starts writing in her journal. She's like, okay, so at 9 a.m. this morning, this thing happened to me, and blah, 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 blah. And and she said 2 things happened. She allocated time to deal with it. And by the time it got to that point, she'd either gotten over it or she found the answer already, so it's like, that's
the most important thing is you do have to make the time to deal with it. If you don't deal with it, then it's just going to continue to snowball, like a lot of things usually do, and we've all heard that term. So you do have to acknowledge it and take the time to deal with it. Otherwise, it might go away for the moment, but then it will actually impact when something else triggers it. And then it'll pile onto that. So it'll just get bigger and bigger. The key is dealing with it. But then, not bathing in it.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So you're saying, like, even though she was over it by 4 o'clock, she still had to deal with it at 4 o'clock. She still had to, wow. Yeah,
you still have to process it and just get it out of your head. You just still have to get it out of your head. Like, I've had a couple of situations, like earlier this year, I had a really, really big shift in my salon business with all of my team. They all quit. And I started to find, like, in the moment, I was ringing all of my friends. I was ringing my other salon owners. I was ringing my mentors. And I was just like, blah, 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 blah. Like, probably for like a good half a day, I was just on the phone because I just needed to release it. And then, I had my awareness. Then I started taking the action. I was like, okay, job ads, blah, 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 blah. But then, like, a few weeks later when I'd catch up with someone else and they're like, oh, what happened? I was actually at the point where I was just like, they just don't work here anymore. That's all I've got to say on the matter. I didn't want to keep drudging it and keep bringing it up. So once you've dealt with it, then leave it where it is.
Yeah, nice. That's really good. And I guess that's the thing, isn't it? Like you said, like letting them move on, like yourself moving on because they've moved on. It's like, why do they keep dealing with them because they've already moved on and I've got to move on? Yeah.
And people like fucking drama and gossip, like...
And like, but that's like the other thing, isn't it? It's like the amazing thing about humans is like what you went through, with your husband passing away. It's like everyone in your hometown, my old hometown, is like it was the talk of the town, and like no one, you know what I mean? It's very odd because everyone's like, oh, did you hear about Cassie? And it's this very thing. It's like everyone was concerned about you and loving you, so it wasn't like out of like spite or anything, but it was just like a big thing of like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about her without actually talking to her in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, I was at a thing of like, I'm not going to contact you because you've got fucking everyone else contacting you. So, but it's very interesting that,
Yeah. Because everybody else, like, so many people are more interested in paying attention to other people's stories rather than actually reading and writing their own.
That's so powerful. Yeah. Do you think that's a thing as well? Like, not always focusing on other people's stories, other people's lives, but like having your own story or your own center story stage front, upstage? Yeah, focusing on like, is there a word to quote there? But yeah, like focusing on that first, or mainly focusing on your own story, your own life.
Yeah, it's 100%. Focus on your own shit.
Yeah.
Deal with your own stuff. Write your own pages. Get your story and your headlines straight before you start, playing a part in somebody else's story, before you start contributing to somebody else's story or telling them how to write theirs. A lot of people avoid it because they don't want to own their shit. They don't want to be in their own mess. So it's deflection.
That's such a good way to put it. Yeah. And like, just to go on to that moment briefly, for anyone else that, not that specific moment, but anyone else that might go through a moment like that where everyone's talking about them, how did you get through that? How did you get through everyone gossiping and, talking about you?
I think I had a lot of protectors around me, so that definitely helped at the time. I had a lot of people, but I think for me as well, like everyone was, they were talking and gossiping, but it wasn't heavy. Like you said, it was from, a way of loving. It was just the story at the time. But definitely in situations where, perhaps you're in a situation and somebody is gossiping about you and there is negativity around it. One big thing that I utilize is just literally, like, I love my saying, not my monkey, not my circus. No. That's not my business. It doesn't belong to me. That's their judgment. Mm-hmm. It's hard as well. Like, you do have to have that inner belief in yourself and that inner confidence to not allow others' words to start becoming your truth. Mm-hmm. But if you don't believe it and it's not the truth, it's not your story, then don't buy into it. Don't read it. They are allowed to have their opinions. Yeah, it fucking sucks if their opinion happens to be about you and it happens to be wrong, but everyone is allowed to have their own thoughts. Everyone is allowed to have their own emotions, and they're all going to be different no matter what. But you can control you.
Yeah.
That's all you have to focus on.
I think
that's it.
I think it's the big thing about everyone's entitled to their opinion, because it's like, you're also entitled to being factually correct and factually.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have an opinion, make sure you know when your opinion isn't correct, Yeah. And that's the big dilemma. And on that note, though, it's like you're talking about, like, dealing with, negative, like, for example, there might be people out there's people who hate other people for their success. Like, there's people who don't like you because you're doing it successfully,
Yeah.
And I have that all the time, because I see, friends of mine who are getting their films into film festivals and winning awards and stuff. And I don't hate them, but like, I'm like, there are some people I'm like, they're not good. They're not a good, filmmaker. They're not a good director. Why are they winning awards? How do you tell someone? Have you got any advice for someone who's, jealous and envious with that hate?
Yeah. Remember, you're still human.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. You're human. You're allowed to. But have a look at why you're feeling that. Why are you feeling that jealousy? 9 times out of 10, it's because they're doing something that you're not doing. So are they doing it because they, simply put in some more action? It's let me try and figure this out properly. It's a reflection. Your judgment is a reflection on you. Something I actually heard is, I was actually listening to a Bryn Brown podcast the other morning when I went for a walk. Yes. And it was a grief podcast. And there was a, I can't even remember who the person was, but anyways, judgment demands punishment. So whenever you are judging someone, you're going to either be punishing them or you're going to actually be punishing yourself, because you'll punish yourself in the end for judging on that person, or there'll be a direct impact on, judging them and you're punishing them. No one wants to hurt anyone in this world. So whether or not you're judging them quietly in your own head or you're judging them to their face, you're creating hurt, pain, and punishment for yourself and for them. So I would just sort of say, like, you know, take a moment and go, do you really want to put yourself through this pain? Is this judging and this thought pattern and these words really worth the pain that it's going to cause you or that it's going to cause them? And another thing that I utilize when I'm sort of looking at things in a not so great way is I'm like, if I continue to look at this, so we'll use the example of the film festival, like, you know, you're looking at someone and going, you know, oh, they're always doing really good. They're doing better than me. Why aren't I doing that? All the universe is going to hear is that you're comfortable just watching somebody else being successful. That's just going to go, well, oh, he's always happy because he's always just here bitching about how successful everybody else is. So I'm just going to leave him where he is because he seems comfortable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, that's the other thing I was thinking about. People like, you know, not that I can say anyone I know like this, but like, you know, probably you're sharing, you're being vulnerable, you're telling everyone how you're feeling and your emotions. And there could be someone on Facebook going, oh, shut the fuck up, Cassie. Like,
oh, yeah.
All she ever does is talk about herself. All she ever does is, you know, get over yourself, Cassie. You know, it's like,
my brother-in-law literally unfriended me. He's like, I'm sick of seeing your shit.
Wow. You know, that's...
I'm like, you need more friends then.
Exactly. But it's like, what, I mean, oh, okay, we'll just say it. What's your brother-in-law going through then? What's your brother-in-law going through if, you know, he's not able to, you know, understand? I don't know how to word this, but like, what's happening with him if he's like, I'm sick of her always talking and telling us how she's, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's that.
And it's just, yeah, like, I think probably more with that is probably like, yeah, sibling, just like, I'm fucking over everything. Like, I'm always popping up, you know, but it is definitely like, it's like, what are they going through? And that's where I feel like sometimes, and this is like getting woo-woo again, but it's like when somebody will come at me and judge me or I feel attacked or something, I try and teach this to a lot of my clients, like, just take a moment and literally send them back love, because they are clearly not in a good frequency or at a good vibration, and this is what they have to do to make themselves feel significant. This is what they have to do to mask all of the other feelings that are going on within themselves. So just send them back love, you know, and just go, okay, clearly this is a reflection on something that they are dealing with. And if you can just kind of shift that and have that thought pattern rather than buying into what they're saying, that also helps you shift on and move away from the negativity a lot quicker too.
That's really powerful. So it's like, you know, give them what they actually need rather than what they want, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, you're reacting how they want is going to give them that, you know, that high, or let's say that dopamine hit that they're wanting because they've gotten what they wanted. But it's not going to fix the actual fucking problem. You know, it's like with a child when Frankie's having a tantrum, like, if I meet him where he's at and start yelling and getting angry, we just get more yelly and more angry. Whereas if I actually meet him with a different frequency and a calmer energy, then the situation starts to get diffused a fuckload quicker.
Yeah. Talking about Newton's third law, every action has an opposite or equal reaction. So it's like, you can meet that with the equal reaction, or you can meet that with the opposite reaction. And it's like, you know, what result do you want? Do you want the equal result of the yelling and screaming, or do you want the opposite result of the calm and together, you know? So yeah, that's really, really powerful and a good way to work with that situation. So similar to the other question about shame, so I'm just going back.
Good.
But do you ever deal with the imposter syndrome, or those gremlins in your head telling you that you can't do it, or you're not good enough, or you won't be successful? And how do you deal with those gremlins or the imposter?
Oh, fuck oath. Like, literally on Monday after my retreat, I was so fucking exhausted. Like I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not fucking doing the next one. I've already sold 2 spots to the next one, so I'm like, I have to do the next one.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I'm like, is this what I really want to do? Like, do I really want to do this? Like, why am I doing this? That was so much work, like, you know. But then it's like, I just sort of had to sort of slap myself. I allowed myself to sleep, fell asleep on the couch for like 3 hours. Franklin was just playing Legos or on his iPad or whatever. And I just allowed myself to just sink into it and I was just burnt out, like, which is what happens when you're running something like that. You're giving everyone all of your energy. And then I just took a moment and I actually scrolled through the photos of the weekend. And I was like, no, what I did was fucking amazing, you know? And I just kept affirming to myself, you know, I helped those amazing women. I helped those women bring out their inner badass. I did this. Like, I then just reflected on, you know, the fucking good that was there, the good in the moment. And that definitely shifted it. But no, it fucking happens like all the time. All the time I'm having conversations and I was like, why am I fucking doing this? Like, this is so hard. You know, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? You know, do I just go back to doing it, being a hairdresser, because I know how to do that? Like,
yeah.
It's, you know, a continual conversation, you know, even in my days where I feel like I am vibing like at the highest frequency, there could be something super simple that just makes me go, fuck. And I question shit. But I'm still human. Like, I can't live up in this fucking, like, you know, 5th dimension all the time. It's just not possible. Our bodies are not built for it. But it's how long you sit in that space, and it's what you do to shift yourself out of that space. And same thing, like with me and Glenn, like, I could continue to focus on his death if I really wanted to, and everyone would be okay. Like, if I had have gone the complete fucking polar opposite of how I've gone, no one would question me about it. You know, no one would judge me for it. No one would tell me otherwise. But I didn't. I focused on what I could control and what I could remember and what I wanted to feel. And what that was, you know, the time that I had with him, the memories that we created, the son, the human that we created, you know, all of the things and the experiences that we had together, and the person that I became while I was with him. That's where my focus goes now. It sucks that he's physically not here, but I don't need to focus on his death.
Yeah. So you think that's, you're always going to be dealing with the imposter. You're always going to be dealing with the gremlins inside your head, but it's telling yourself, or it's telling the imposter, it's telling the gremlins, I am in control, you know, and I have control of this and I can control this. Yeah. You can't get rid of it. It's a part of you. You know, you can't have dark without light. You can't have light without dark. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have those situations. Like, you can't know what happiness if you don't know what sadness is. Like, it's all of those kind of things. Constantly at battle. Yeah.
So you've just got to find that balance and that frequency, and it's allowing yourself to go into the mess and sitting in the mess, feeling, and then coming out of it. It's just the biggest difference between, I guess, myself and other people who go through, you know, well, other humans, is I'm just trained a little bit more and I don't stay in the shit for, you know, for too long. You know, there's still some days where it's like a day or two, and that's fine. But, you know, I'm not sitting in the mess and I'm not making it my story. I'm making it a paragraph in the chapter of my story.
On that note, like, you know, we were meant to have this interview, a week or 2 ago, but your uncle unfortunately passed away. So you think that was a moment where it's like, okay, I've got to allow a day or 2 for this?
Yeah, definitely.
And sort of,
and that's the thing. It's acknowledging it and allowing it, not going, oh, it'll just be okay. I'll deal with it later. Like how you shared, that lady, she could put it to 4 p.m. There's definitely some things in life that you can't just go, I'm not going to deal with that until 4 p.m. when I'm looking at my journal. There are some things that you actually have to just go, okay. Like this week, I just came off of my retreat and I was like, my body was aching. I was just like, I've got fucking corona, man. Everything hurts. I don't know where I would have gotten it from, but anyways. And then Franklin had been sick over the weekend, and then he was sick. He ended up being in the hospital on Tuesday, just gone. So I had to sort of make the decision on Monday. I was like, am I going to continue to try and fight and push through and just make all of this shit work and do this to-do list with the fucking, 10 ton of weight that's on me? Or am I just going to acknowledge that shit is shit and work through it? And that's what I ended up doing. I am grateful I had, have the flexibility that I could say to my cellar manager, look, I'm not coming in this week, please just deal with it. And then I had the opportunity to be able to just be at home with Franklin. I live with mum and dad at the moment, so I had extra support from my mum, and I have extra support from Glenn's mum. So I am very grateful I have that opportunity, but I'm grateful for myself that I actually listened to what I was fucking wanting and I allowed.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Yeah. Going to the next question. You're really open to speaking your emotions and feelings, especially with women through your retreat. It's mainly women coming. Do you believe this is also important for everyone? And what do you believe you can gain from opening up to this? So, it's not just about, women at your retreats, it's about, men, and how can does this go with men as well? It's not just, a single gender or sex or whatever you want to call it.
Fuck no, it's just human. Like, it's just all of us. We all have it and we all feel it. Yeah, whether we are male or female, like, we all fucking feel it. Adults, kids, animals, like, it's all there. It's all energy, and that's the thing. Emotions are just literally energy in motion. So it's a different energy frequency that happens to be moving through you at the time. So we all fucking experience it, and we can all do all of the same things and all of the same tools and techniques.
Do you think do you think there is a problem in the male community with dealing with emotions or seeking help, or?
I definitely, for me, I feel it's changing dramatically. I feel there has been some insane fucking growth for the male community. And the thing is, it's only the way that it is because society said so 100 fucking years ago. It's just the programming. I just think for women, it kind of seems a little bit fresher because for so long in, years gone by, women were a little bit suppressed. They didn't voice themselves as much. So I think the movement for women seems a lot fresher because we are still making the noise about coming out of that. But then I feel now it's time for the guys to actually go, okay, well, we've actually been this, these big masculine guys. We're going to make noise in the opposite way. Like, I feel, women are making noise stepping into the masculinity. And then now men, they need to make noise stepping into their femininity. And it's totally fucking okay. Like, fucking, I don't know, who gives a shit? Like, and it's hard because, like, I do sometimes, like, I fucking, no judgment on my mum or anything like that, but we were in the pool yesterday and Franklin was being dramatic. He goes in the pool all the time and is usually totally fine, but yesterday it was just being ridiculous. Mum went to say something because, like, I said to him, was like, oh, you're big and brave, or so, I don't know. Anyways, Mum's like, oh, well, you're acting like a girl. And I'm like, well, no, he's not, because girls are big and brave and strong too. And she was like, oh, yeah, you know, but it's not, and it's not like it wasn't from a place of malice or anything. It was just, that's just a context and wording that has been utilized for so long. And I've, you know, said it and done it before as well. Like, stop acting like a girl, stop having a, you know, all those kind of things. And I'm just like, no, you know, and then that's the thing, like, you know, women, you know, all go get a set of balls, you know, harden up, man up, like, and that's just, it's just programming. It's just wording. It's just context from years and years and years of that being how the world was and how humans were. So we just all have to be open to evolving, whether we're female or male, fucking black, white, friggin' purple, pink, you know, whatever you are. Like, you just have to be open to evolving and accept change.
That's such a good way to put it. So, like, these are all social constructs, you know, and, you know, nothing against your mother, but, like, those old traditions are sort of like, or those old ways of thinking are sort of, you know, they've changed, you know, because of research and science and et cetera, et cetera. And understanding that men opening up and talking about their emotions isn't, you know, being, you know, isn't a feminine thing, you know, or, you know, it's like, it's okay. You know, you can be a man by talking about your emotions, you know, in the physical sense. So, like, yeah, that's such a good way to put it, especially, like, you know, Franklin having that little situation, you know, it's like, he was just having a moment, you know, it wasn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's so powerful. Sort of like letting go of that wording, because as you know, like, words have such power, you know. Yeah. And what in your life keeps you motivated to keep pushing yourself, and what keeps you excited in your career and goals? So yeah.
I like learning. Like, I just like, you know, learning something new. Like, I'm always where's the next certificate coming from? Like, I want a gold star. I want to say that I've achieved something. Like, that's kind of, I've always been like that bit of a, you know, tell me I did good. So that's one big thing that obviously helps me, because I'm always like sort of educating myself. But for me, it's like, okay, cool. I have done a lot. Like, I've done all of this work and I didn't find it probably as difficult as others might. So I'm just like, well, how can I help people to get to this place? How can I help people to be confident? So for me, it's about serving. I feel like, you know, 20 years being a hairdresser, I was kind of always been serving people and have always been a healer in many ways. So it's like, okay, well, what else can I do now? You know, what is the next tool? And now, instead of my tool being like, you know, my scissors and my blow dryer, my tool is my voice. My tool is me, you know, showing up and sharing. My tool is my energy. And that's the thing, I look back at it now, and I look back at, you know, a lot of the clientele that I had, and there would be so many times I was like, oh my God, this person is not going to like me because of the way I look. You know, like, I started getting tattoos when I was young, and, you know, it wasn't a big thing. Like, work would ask me to cover tattoos and all that kind of stuff. And it was, you know, that day that I started to rock up not covering my tattoos and telling them to kind of get fucked, that I then started to gain more clients. And I realized now it's like, because I was stepping into a confidence, because I was owning who I was. So even though these people may have been the polar opposites, and even some of them, literally, I had a couple of older clientele who were like, I don't really like you because of your tattoos and how you look, but I just ignore your tattoos when I look at you, and you do really great hair and you're a really awesome person. So, okay. So to me, like, that was skills and energy. Like, if they took away how I physically looked, which now I think is just fucking bullshit, but that's how it was. If you can connect with people on that level, if you can connect with their energy, then you can really get to the core of the person. Then you can really help someone. So for me, it's just like, yeah, where can I spread my energy next? Whose life can I shake the fuck up? And that's kind of what, keeps motivating me. And then education as well. Like, it's always fun learning something new and then being able to share it. And I want to live a life paid in full. That's my thing. Like, I fucking love money. And I'm so grateful for the energetic exchange that it brings. So for me, we all require, unfortunately, some form of money in this world nowadays. But I want to live a life paid in full. So I want to hit my goals and have my businesses at the level that they need to be, so I don't have to have a credit card. So I don't have to think about that thing that I want to buy. I just go in and buy it. So there's the energy level of what I want to do, and then the human level of monetary success and things like that. That's what keeps me going.
On that quick discussion, like, do you think it's more important to have like physical goals, like have my business have 5 shops in my business? This is just an example. Like, own 5 shops or something, rather than saying, my goal is to have $1 million. Do you think it's better to have a physical goal that is,
Well, you have to break it down. Like, because you could go through like, I want $1 million. Well, how do you want to get that $1 million? It's not just gonna fucking appear on your doorstep. For some people, I want that $1 million. That might mean they buy a lotto ticket every fucking night. But they're working towards that goal of gaining their $1 million. So you've got to have it. You've got to break it down. Like, so I want to buy a house. I want to buy land. Okay, well, how is that going to happen? I've got to save. I've got to this. I've got to pay off these debts. Okay, well then, how do I save? How do I pay off this debt? Or how do I pay off these debts? And then you break it down. How do I pay off this one credit card? So everything needs to be broken down into bite-sized pieces. Like, there's that saying, it's like, how do you eat an elephant? It's like one bite at a time. So everything's got to have processes and steps to get to said goal. But you still have to have those big, scary, hairy, audacious goals that make you feel uncomfortable, that make you kind of go, I don't know if I can do that, but it would be really fucking cool. Like, you've got to have that. You've got to have something to be fucking excited for. And then rein it all back and take it back to systems and structure and processes and things like that. Your morning coffee, it's like, I really want that morning coffee. Well, how do you get it? You put the kettle on, you get the coffee, you get the cup, you get, it's everything has its processes.
Create those tasks. Yeah.
And
that's really interesting too. Like, you're talking about like external validation really keeps you motivated and keeps you driven. But do you think self-validation is also important, or most important? Like, you find validating yourself is what's really necessary than wanting external validation from others?
Well, you have to fucking believe. Like, if you don't believe it, getting the validation from the outside is not going to be enough. It's just going to be like, a little, chink in the armor, essentially. Like, it's not going to be, it's not going to be enough to sustain your dreams and and your energy and things like that. Like, yeah, it feels fucking good, but it's that dopamine hit. Dopamine doesn't hang around all the time. So you're going to get that external validation and go, oh yeah, fuck yeah, that was great. And then, that will last about a fucking minute. It's where it comes into social media and posting, and why, you want to put a post up that gets like lots and lots of likes and comments, because then every fucking comment or like or interaction on that post equals a level of a dopamine hit or a level of validation. But then you close your phone down, it's gone. So you need to have that belief within yourself. You need to really, truly believe what they're saying is true. And the only way that you believe it is by believing in yourself and having that confidence and having that faith that what you're putting out or what you're doing is making the difference and it is giving the love. So I guess, I don't love the term, but it comes down to having that self-love. If you don't if you don't love yourself, in the words of RuPaul, you know, if you don't love yourself, how are you going to love anyone else, you know?
So powerful. And
Yeah.
My final question, which is, what would you tell anyone out there that is going through a really rough patch right now, or a really sort of in the arena face down moment?
I think we touched on it like so much already throughout this video. But just ask yourself what you need. Take a moment, take a couple of breaths, and just ask yourself, you know, what do I need in this moment? And the answer might be to sleep. The answer might be to go and eat a whole fucking tub of ice cream. The answer might be to go to the pub and, you know, have a couple of drinks with some mates. The answer might be to just go, no, pull your fucking shit together, get dressed, shower, do something. You know, just actually ask yourself. The answers that we need to everything in fucking life are already within us. We just actually have to ask the right questions. Mm-hmm. Everything we need to know is already here, sitting and waiting. And if it's not in here, it's coming from fucking out there. You just need to open your ears. So acknowledge where you're at the time. If it is really messy, then let yourself sit in it. If you've been sitting in the mess for a while and, you know, you've got Dorito stains down your shirt and you probably haven't changed your pajamas for a few days, maybe that might be the time to start taking some action, and asking for help, reaching out. But the biggest thing is you've got to look at where you're reaching out and where you're communicating from. You don't want to reach down. You got to be mindful if you reach outwards. If you start kind of reaching out, like, you know, to people, like for me, when Glenn passed, I couldn't reach out to my family because they were grieving as well. You know, they were all going through the same process. So as much as they wanted to be there and help me, I wanted to be there and help them. So I didn't fucking help anyone. So you need to be mindful. You'll have your people that are on the same level as you, and you can definitely reach out to them. But just be cautious of where they are, because sometimes people will just tell you what they think you want to hear rather than what you need to hear. So don't reach down. Be mindful of where you're reaching on the same level. If you're going to go for help, go up. Find someone that inspires you. Find someone that's been through what you're going through. Find someone who might be just completely fucking not even attached or have any understanding, but just might give you enough of an energy raise that you can have a moment, you know. Watch something funny, you know what I mean? Like, raise your vibration, and you can raise your vibration by going up because we want to raise it. So yeah, that's the biggest thing. Acknowledge where you're at. Ask yourself what it is you fucking need and listen. And then, yeah, ask for help. Communicate.
That was some real deep shit. Thank you. There was some real nuggets of gold in there. It's like, gonna pocket that. Yeah, no, that was really great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Cassie. I really appreciate the time you've taken to sit down and speak to me. And yeah, I really look forward to putting this up. So anyone that finds this can, you know, take what they want from it and grow and move on. So,
yeah, definitely. There's probably some, like, you know, cool social media quote tiles in there and a meme or something.
Trust me. It's going to be, you know, when you're lying in bed and you have Dorito stains running down your shirt, then maybe it's time. That's the first one I'm going to take. Yeah. Cassandra Barrie. Yeah. Yeah.
Mine was either Doritos and salsa or baby spew down the cleavage. Like.
Yeah. For all the men out there, when you have baby spew down the cleavage, it might be time to go. Yeah. Okay.
Literally.
Have an amazing day. I really appreciate the time you've sat down here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's been really good chatting to you.
Yeah, no, totally. Okay, I'll let you get back to your crazy day with Franklin.
Yeah. I think it might be bribery with, like, you know, toys and Maccas or something today to get him to behave.
You're giving him what he wants rather than what he needs. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. To get what I want.
What do you want?
So Sometimes you just got to do it.
Okay, see you, Cassie.
See ya. Bye.